Yeah, it seems like we have too big of a storm, he lowers it down, so people are scared to come up, and if we don't have as big of a storm as expected, it seems like I really don't think there's 14 inches up there right now.
Yeah. Oh, we look at the forecast and divide by 3. Yeah. Seems to work.
I have to drive over Red Mountain Pass tomorrow, so I've
Oh,
been
my goodness.
very anxiously
Yeah.
looking at the forecast.
Yeah,
Like,
you
so I was
You have to
thinking-
drive back.
I do,
On
but
Saturday?
well, Saturday, and I'm not in a rush on Saturday, so I think I'll probably,
You'll be
So,
fine on
yeah,
Saturday, but
that's-
Sunday looks like.
yeah, and that's why I'm coming back on Saturday, is my daughter has a
Oh.
swim meet in Delta tomorrow, and then one in Grand Junction on Saturday, and the one on Saturday is done at 1 o'clock, so I think I'm just gonna go
Yeah.
slow and just go around through Moab anyway. I
Yeah.
love that antique store in Cortez. It's always a big motivator for me.
Get way out of your way. for
Yeah.
that.
Have you ever been there? It's worth it.
Not, but you make me want to go.
It's like the antique.
Robert, is that you on RJM iPad?
Oh, Rick?
Yep.
It is me, you know.
How are you,
There we go.
Awesome.
There I am.
Breathing.
Walking
Hey,
by the river.
Happy New Year.
House yesterday. And that view.
I know. That's why we don't go to the antique store in Cortez. It's like, well, I go.
The big news for me is we're moving.
Exciting.
The last time, I think you said we're pouring our driveway tomorrow.
I always try to find.
The day before the important event.
At least you got your driveway in before it got full. Don't get me started.
Okay, so it is 4 o'clock. Emily is traveling. She's at a conference in Denver, so she's gonna try to dial in when she can, but she may or may not be able to do that. So I will hand it over to you, Mr. Chairperson.
You will indeed.
I will, yes.
I will call the meetings.
All
Do
right.
we need to
401.
introduce ourselves or anything?
I'm Derek with Pagosa Son.
Derek, I'm Rick Holter.
Hey,
Nice to meet you.
nice to meet you.
Yeah, we ran across each other at least on social media.
Yes, we are.
Awesome. Do you know everybody else, Derek?
No, I don't know.
I'm Jer-
Jeremy?
Well, we have to do.
Okay, Jeremy.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Martin. Okay, thank you.
And Barbara Swindlehurst.
Yes, Barbara. And I know everyone else.
Okay,
Okay.
awesome, thanks. All right, we'll go ahead and do roll call, okay. Oh, there's, all right. Rose Chavez? Not yet. Rosanna DeBoer? Here. Rick?
Yes.
Me? Here. Robert?
Yes, ma'am.
Jeff Posey?
Here.
Has?
Yes,
Cindy Schultz? Yes, hi Cindy. Barbara? Yes. Anne Marie Sukchek? Not yet. And Aaron is not able to attend. Okay,
That gives us a quorum.
we've got a quorum.
Excellent. I hope everybody got a chance to review the minutes that got
Yes.
sent out. Any changes? or-
yeah. One change at least. I was not in attendance. Wished
Not-
I was, but I was not.
Not even in spirit.
Oh, yeah, absolutely in spirit.
I apologize, and I will make sure that we take that off.
He's not gonna take credit for something he didn't do.
Okay.
You can, you have Zoom in parentheses. You can put in spirit.
In spirit,
parentheses.
yes,
Parentheses.
right, right.
It's
Yeah.
the ultimate virtual.
What happened with that is we had that meeting and then the holidays happened and then I came back to it and I was
Tried to
like,
go off in memory.
oh.
Can't remember.
So, okay, I will make that adjustment
Okay,
and,
I've got a couple.
yeah,
So on item number 5E3, it says Jeff Colon, if possible, we.
yep, and I searched.
I want it to stay that way because at every meeting, I want to be quoted as if possible, we.
Rick had already pointed that out. I researched and could not find anything in any of the notes or recordings that you said anything other than
If possible,
it's
we,
possible.
that's
and
fine with me.
I struck it from the
Well, and right after that, the next one, it says Hermosa Street train through Cotton Hall. It'd be great to have a train. Train through Cotton Hall.
Second big here.
Okay, okay. So,
It's a train.
I will make these changes. Would we like to
Great.
make a motion with these changes?
To approve with second. Or
Oh.
somebody's gotta move.
So moved.
Yeah, second.
Okay, now we're cool.
Right.
Okay.
All in favor,
Aye.
opposed? The motion passes, excellent.
With those
Movements.
changes.
With those changes. Okay, layers of fun time.
Here, that's me, I think, this time.
Woo, woo.
I don't know how we're gonna do the Zoom, people. That's gonna be you. Okay,
Okay,
everybody. Draw a card.
do I get to look?
No,
I wait to look?
you can look, but don't speak.
You've got to be kidding me.
Sure.
It's like he draws off the top.
There you go. Do we hold them up to the owl for the people?
I think we're gonna, well, I'm gonna leave that to our administrator.
Oh, so we are supposed to look at it.
We are supposed to look. Okay, so shall I pick for those online?
Yes.
Okay,
So
all right.
this is for,
This is for Cindy. Sure, Cindy first. I'm gonna choose for Cindy. Okay, this one's for Cindy,
okay,
and then I'm gonna choose for Rose,
Hi, Rose.
Hi, Rose.
and then I'm gonna choose for Has,
Thank you.
and then I'm gonna choose for Robert.
oh, Robert. Hey, oh, and I need to choose, all right. It better not be the skunk. That's happened to me too. Right, so these are called medicine cards, and it gives you what your spirit animal is, what your power animal is. So I thought we'd all look at ours and explain how this is a metaphor for a power that we have.
Metaphors of the power that we have.
And who goes first?
I'll be happy to go first.
Go.
I am thrilled beyond belief because I selected moose and I am a moose fanatic. It is my favorite animal. It is a spirit animal. And the moose is strong, but has the sweetest face. And I think my superpower as it relates to the moose is strength and tenacity are in it for the long run.
That's great. You
Yep.
did good. Going this way or that way?
I'm still thinking on mine, so
Okay.
you better go next.
I got the possum here, the possum. So I'll call this my spirit animal for the future. I'm looking forward, I'll become this after April 2024 when I roll off town council. Because I'm gonna start moving more slowly and thinking a whole lot less. And if anybody comes near me, I'm gonna bare my teeth and hiss at them.
Shall we go with one online? So the first one, this one was Cindy, right? The first one, Cindy, you want to know what you got?
Please.
You got the otter.
Over to
The
the
otter, there you go.
Can I have a minute?
You can have a minute. Can you see it? I don't know where I need to put it so you can see it. Here. Now, there.
There you go.
Okay, you got the otter. Yes, so we'll
Okay.
give you a minute. You got the otter. All right, Rose, you got the spider.
Yeah.
And Has, you got the swan.
Okay.
And Robert, you got the raven. Okay, so we'll give you all a few minutes to think about those and continue in the room.
Okay, cool, that person.
Want to go this way?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I got the bat. I never would have thought that was my spirit animal, but think about it, I think they fly by sonar. Yeah.
Yeah, you're just kind of
Uh,
silently hanging out
yeah.
for meetings.
And, you know, sometimes driving over the pass or hiking, snowboarding, whatever, it's low visibility. Might need some sonar every now. Yeah.
That's good.
Excellent, great. Do it. All right.
I got the mountain lion, and that is the face I have in the morning. My face in the morning. I guess I'm a little arrogant and I do say lead, follow, or get out of the way. So I think as a mountain lion, I climb that mountain, no matter what obstacles it takes for me to get there, I'm there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, that is a little bit my personality.
Nicely done.
If you stay away from my dog.
I'm working in yards.
Is that your everybody's trail?
Yeah, everybody's trail.
Those guys ready yet?
Well, I got the mouse.
Ooh.
Yeah, so let's see, mouse is high energy and resourceful. How about that?
Absolutely.
I love it.
You
Well
wanna go
done.
online?
Yeah, anyone, Cindy, are you ready? Okay.
Sure. So mine was the otter, and otters, as much as I hate water, they're water animals, so they have really protective, like a thick fur. So I like to think of myself as pretty thick skinned, and I'm still working on thickening that skin even further. And the other thing they are is very agile. So sort of agile in the water and kind of dodging whatever comes at them. So
Excellent.
that can be,
Nicely done.
that can be my
Right.
spirit animal until I get the fox, because there's a fox that hangs out outside my window and I really want to be a fox.
All right.
Having fun all the time.
All right, Rose, are you ready?
I would have to say the inspiration that comes out of the spider would be the web and the network that I have that I want to leverage for our Main Street initiative.
Ooh,
Absolutely.
There you
Yes,
go. Bring
that's
it back home.
absolutely. Yes, I would agree. And Has, how about you with the swan?
The swan, well, I'm relieved to be told what my spirit animal is without all the inconveniences of a vision quest. Uh, so swan, I am absolutely not a swan in any way.
Can you hear
I'm
me?
not elegant. I'm not elegant. I'm not especially territorial.
Got it. Okay, wanted to get it.
And the other thing is swans don't last long in Pagosa. I don't know if you know, but we had some swans. We had some swans and they got hit by cars on 160 over on one of the lakes. Very, very sad. So I'm sorry to be contrarian, but that ain't me.
Well, just so you know, we didn't go through all of the directions. If you drew it upside, then you're the anti-swan. So maybe you're an anti-swan.
Anti-swan for sure.
Okay.
Robert, I think.
And Robert, you are the raven.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know a lot about ravens, but what I recall is that they're historically in literature harbingers of darkness and bad omens. Pretty sure they're scavengers who will eat anything. Roadkill looks great to them. That's about all I can go with. So if I'm a raven, damn, hopefully I'm tough, I'm resilient. Maybe I'm bringing some truth, even if it's dark and hard to deal with. I'm praying to God I'm not a raven.
The bird people are just not like, you're not relating. I am the bear.
Oh.
I am gonna go to sleep now. I like to think of myself as more of a yogi bear than like a Chicago bear or a grizzly. So, you know, with my faithful sidekick, my dog, who doesn't look much like me, but we'll go with that. So bears seem wise. I do like to get in and root around the trash every once in a while. And, there you go.
So mine was the deer, and I also am struggling to relate because I'm not really quiet or docile, but, the only things that I could think of are right now with my oldest child getting ready to leave for college, I definitely relate to the maternal side of a doe. And then I also am constantly grazing.
You're always running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always bouncing around.
Yeah, she is, that's true.
And not, hopefully not darting in front of traffic.
Well, if they would move the crosswalk across Main, I wouldn't have to.
It's coming. Just don't stop wide eyed in the middle of it.
So Anne Marie joined us and did you?
Yes.
So that- Okay, so.
I'm an elk.
Oh,
Okay. And, Jeff, how was it that you deposed the relationship? How it relates to you and what was it?
How does it illustrate some of your core
Your
strengths?
core strengths, yeah.
Close friends. I mean, the thing that I'm reading here about the elk is
She
that
looked it up.
it originally came from Europe, actually, and it was a variety of moose. And then it was transferred to North America by colonists. So there I am. I'm actually originally from Europe.
You're-
Here we go. That's the
Right
thing.
here.
And I.
Fantastic. Oh, that was a great layer of fun. Thank you very much.
You're
Jeff.
welcome.
And I think I will start pinging each of you to come up with a layer of fun for each meeting, because that one was a real creative
good.
one. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks.
Thought we were gonna do tarot cards.
Yeah, I was.
Not
Here we go.
even tarot cards.
Raven guy. with zero.
Yeah.
Okay, on to unfinished. Do we need a motion to end fun?
I dissent.
Into our unfinished or old business. Kat, you want to talk about the Main Street?
Absolutely. As you all know, we received our official notice as candidate. And that was really, really exciting news to share with everyone. There are copies of the table, copies on the table, a couple of copies of that letter. Okay, so, no big surprise really, but also very relieved and a pleasure to be part of the program. We also, the town council also unanimously passed the memorandum of understanding that we had to have with DOLA, and we had our chairperson sign it, and that's been sent off. As a result of that process, that starts unlocking some of the resources that we have access to. I participated in an onboarding with Gail Langley and Tracy Stoffel at DOLA. They are more than happy to attend any of our meetings via Zoom to kind of give us the whole, here's Main Street and here are some of your options and so forth. Do you think you would find value in doing that for maybe 10, 15 minutes?
I assume so. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think at least initially. when
And
we're
to get
figuring
face to
out,
face.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I will make that happen and see if we can get them on our next agenda. Wonderful ladies, so helpful. As a result of now being official candidate, I participated in the manager summit back in November, and I got to meet all of the other Main Street managers. They're called different things in different programs. I got to put names with faces and so forth. Well, now I'm part of a group email. So anytime we want to get input from any of the other programs and so forth, it's a really easy way to do that. So that's a really wonderful resource to have. Also, as part of the onboarding, they talked about the scholarships and mini grants that we have access to. And we also talked about that in the town council meeting. It's not a lot of money, but every little bit helps. So between now and for the next 3 years, we have $6,600 worth of scholarship money to use. That will probably mostly go toward me going to required conferences and training. I learned that they do require the Main Street coordinator manager to participate in the National Conference for Main Street America. That's in March in Boston, which will be interesting weather. But that will be exciting to go and attend and represent that. And that'll be a pretty expensive undertaking, so that scholarship money definitely will help. We also have access to $7,500 in mini grants. Those need to be matched by 25%. But you know, the town council actually approved $15,000 of funding for our program. So we do have a little bit of money to use accordingly, and we can figure out how we want to do that.
Will
moving
that be
forward.
considered matching money, or do we need more money to match?
We need more money to match.
Okay.
It can be used as matching money. But if we just want to spend it on something,
Yeah.
something for us, then we could match it.
So 25% of the 7,500 is just a little bit less than $2,000, I think.
Yeah,
So
Yeah,
maybe
not too much.
18,
Yeah,
50 or
yeah,
something.
not bad, not
That
bad.
shouldn't be a problem.
I'll continue to be learning more about what's available to us. For example, remember when we talked about the pickaxe project where they do that branding, that intensive branding? We are currently slated for that for our March meeting.
Meaning they'll be here?
Meaning they'll be here,
Oh,
yes.
cool.
So they will send one of the two who will come and do an intensive session with us for 2 hours, and then they just comb through our main street, take it in, take pictures, do work all night long, and then the next day come magically show up with a brand, with a color scheme, with, I mean, it's a really fantastic project, and we don't pay anything. Yes.
It sounds
So-
kind of nuts, but great.
Right.
Good questions.
Exactly. So we are currently scheduled for a regular meeting in March. As soon as I know that that's gonna happen, of course, I will let you all know. Gail said, quote, "I need to move some money around," and you know how that can happen in government. So we're tentatively scheduled, but we're definitely on the books to get that done.
So can I just verify that?
Yes.
None of the cost of this comes out of the 7,500 or anything else. It's
Nope.
fantastic.
It is absolutely fantastic. And that's one of the many benefits of being a candidate, that we will get access to a lot of things like this, that we won't have to pay anything, or we'll have to pay, or we'll pay minimally. So,
It's really just on us to utilize the
Yes.
access we have.
yes, but,
Jeremy,
oh, sorry.
But the web design and stuff like that was part of that too.
They won't actually do the web design, but this is a really good time to have this conversation, and I really appreciate your input. I appreciate your input. We definitely need to get up a website and get on social media. As a result of the pickaxe branding exercise, we will have probably a name for the program. We'll have a logo that is consistent with the logos and so forth of the town, that goes well with the town. We'll have a color scheme. All of that is really what's needed to build an effective social media and online presence and website. So I'd love to discuss how we want to handle moving forward with that, because it's an important thing to get set up, but we don't yet know our name. So can we pick our domain name if we don't really know the name of the program? So do you know, cart before the horse? That sort of, so does anybody have any really good experience in
Yeah.
that area? I know you do. Do you have any insight into the best way to move forward with the stages of handling that process?
Yeah, I think, well, agree that it would be cart before the horse. And all of these things can happen so quickly now. And we may
Right.
be able to do some fun, noteworthy things with all of the automation and AI services that are now available too, to just really accelerate the process after that session and after that visioning process. And hopefully, things have gone pretty smoothly with developing priorities and vision and everything else. So I expect that we'll move as quickly without getting bogged down with the brand. And I don't think we need to do anything before that. Is it pickaxe?
Yes,
Yeah. Just be at the ready.
right. Any other input?
Dominate, but one issue is that we could all benefit from email addresses that are tied to a domain name. And doing that sooner rather than later helps. I mean, we are subject to the open meeting laws, so if you use your private email addresses for business with this, then it's potentially subject to disclosure if it comes to it and anybody asks or demands that. So having email addresses associated with the Pagosa Main Street, it kind of protects our private information from the public discussion going on with Main Street all the time.
Well, one sort of interim thing we could do, I don't know if this is allowed under those strictures, but we could all we could establish a naming structure and all get Gmail accounts, like has Pagosa Main Street at gmail.com. And all of us do that and use those emails and set them up to forward or whatever convenient way to access those emails for ourselves in the interim.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I think we should go pms.org.
Pagosa Main Street.
That may be too fun. That may be just too much fun.
A hot mess just.
That is the funniest thing
Hey,
I've
shut
heard.
down the phone.
That's awesome. So, do we want to have more discussion about this? Do we want to?
I don't, do we need some kind of, I mean, what's the city's kind of tech policy about it? I mean, I just wonder if we need some like advice. Maybe you know as much as anybody does, but
Which is damn near nothing.
What about everybody's first name PMS at gmail.com? Is that allowed? Okay, not PMS, which is also, by the way, the abbreviation of Presbyterian Medical System.
Right. First
How about
name
Pagosa
Pagosa
MS?
Main.
Pagosa Main or Pagosa MS?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, first name Pagosa Main.
I like Pagosa Main.
Okay. And so if I provide instructions, designating, okay, this is the naming convention we're gonna use and ask each person to do it, is that a fair thing? Okay,
Can I just point out, does that mean that after we have a domain name, we'll switch to
So-
emails with that domain name, or we just?
Sure.
I
Sure.
think we
Yeah.
just,
Well, so in my experience, when I switched to a professional domain email, it was through Gmail.
right,
And you're just literally you don't have to change anything except for connect it to the website, and then it just changes the
Right.
domain. So you
Right,
can
and then just create an alias so that both the old and the new emails work in the same email client. Sure, easy.
Well, Cindy and I don't have to do that. We're already in the open meeting law domain, so we're off the hook, Cindy.
so you'll just use your
Pound.
town, okay, okay. So do we need to make a motion for this?
I think so.
Can't hurt. A motion to establish individual email accounts specifically directed towards the use of Main Street, Colorado.
I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
Yes.
As discussed.
I'll say that loud.
Yeah.
I motion for the establishment of Main Street Advisory Board members to establish independent email accounts pursuant to the directions specifically for the use of communication of Main Street
Business.
communication. Yeah.
Second.
Any discussion? Everybody comfortable with like the tech parts of getting another email address? And, yeah, this
Yes.
group seems.
Pretty
If
satisfactory.
not, I'm happy to help anybody who wants to set it up so that they don't have to go checking that, set it up so that that email would then forward with a label to their main email client.
Right, right.
I can
And like, yeah.
assist.
And on my phone, I have 3 email accounts through Gmail, and I just pick which profile and check them. And
Right.
it's very, very easy, very seamless, very easy. Okay, thank
Okay.
you, Haz, for helping. Okay.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
so you're right, this time we haven't voted yet.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
All
motion.
right, motion passes.
Excellent.
Great.
Okay, and then the other last thing was I had sent out an.
Can I just ask a
Yes,
question about
yes.
the mini grants?
Yes.
Like, at what point do we start like trying to tap that?
In process getting the funds, because I have to, because funds are gonna go directly to the town. We're establishing our procedure for accessing the funds and so forth, but I have to get a signature from the mayor to submit with the application, and therefore we should have access to the funds within the next couple of weeks. And then we can start planning accordingly.
Right.
And I think that would also be a good time to have Gail and Tracy really talk about the most effective use of the funds, because people, different programs use them for different things.
Yeah, that would-
We really want to leverage our dollars as best possible. So, yeah. good
And just
question.
so we're all crystal clear, scholarships is not like some kind of college
Right.
scholarship thing.
Yeah, right.
It's scholarship for our.
For
Main Street
getting-
program,
getting-
To get us.
To get us to trainings and conferences and so forth. Yeah,
Mostly you.
mostly
Yeah.
me, because I'm required to attend to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, and then I sent out an email about the monthly webinars. Each month, anytime I get those from DOLA, I'm gonna send them on. We encourage you to attend as much as possible. I'm signed up for both of them. I think you're signed up for both of them. Rich, you said you were gonna sign up. I think the more of us who can be involved, I realize, we've got a lot of busy schedules, but those are all beneficial for our program, and then we can come back and report what we learned in those that might be helpful for the rest of the board to hear.
Do you remember what those 2 topics were? One
Yes.
was really interesting, one was a little less
Yes,
interesting.
one was about collecting stories, Main Street stories,
Yeah,
and the other one was funding opportunities.
well, actually, both of those are in. Well,
Yeah.
one's.
One's
useful
important and one's fun.
Exactly, exactly.
Players are fun.
Makes me think of
Yes.
Rose Mother.
Yes, exactly. So,
Great.
okay. Next item, I apologize. There was a miscommunication. We still haven't gotten the Aaron Hogan appointment in front of town council, but I promise you by next February, by our next meeting, that will be done. So that will come up on.
By the time Jeff's off the council.
What's that?
By the time Jeff's off. the council.
Okay,
Great. Okay, new business, and there's no other, do I have to ask, is there any other old business? Okay. New business bylaw discussion.
okay, so, this is a draft, and since it's really only 3.5 pages, I thought if you got a chance to read it beforehand, thank you, I appreciate it. Sorry that it took us, that it was later and so close to the meeting before we were able to do that. Any suggestions for how best to make this efficient? Do we want to walk through paragraph by paragraph?
I think we
I
should.
think we should, okay,
Yeah.
because these are really important. So, anyone want to drive?
I'll read the first paragraph if somebody will read the second.
Okay,
Article. I'll read the first article. So article, Main Street Program and Advisory Board. Pagosa Springs Town Council established the Main Street Program on behalf of the town of Pagosa Springs. The Main Street Program is a non-membership, nonprofit program hereafter referred to as program. In July 2022, Town Council appointed the Main Street Advisory Board. We should strike
Strike
that
that.
phrase. in-
Yeah. you got it.
The bylaws contained herein provide the general rules and operating procedures for the Main Street Advisory Board, hereafter referred to as the board.
Okay, other than that one strike, anybody
did we
have any?
strike?
We did, just
The
in
second
July
individual.
it was redundant,
Okay, there you go.
okay? Pretty straightforward. All right, Article 2, purposes and administration. Section 1, purposes. The purpose of the board is to promote the historic preservation, protection, and use of Pagosa Springs traditional downtown area as delineated in Article 4 herein. Is it Article 4? Yes, geographic area, including its commercial and civic enterprises and residences, and more specifically, to improve and revitalize the physical and economic condition of Pagosa Springs downtown area, thereby promoting the town's historic preservation while contributing to its financial health and overall community betterment, to disseminate information on and promote interest in the preservation, history, culture, architecture, and public use of Pagosa Springs downtown area, to hold meetings, seminars, and other activities such as building rehabilitation and design, economic restructuring and planning that foster the preservation of Pagosa Springs downtown area and enhance the understanding and appreciation of its history, culture, and architecture, to collaborate and partner with other organizations, individuals, and public and private entities located within and outside the Pagosa Springs area that are engaged in similar purposes.
The only thing I would say is there's a lot of preservation and history and not a lot of sparking energy.
Okay.
And, I would kind of like to see us as a generative.
I also don't want us to get pigeonholed into some of these categories, so I kind of like including but not limited to, for things
Including
like
but not limited
C.
to, yeah, okay.
Sorry.
No, I was done. I didn't have a specific.
So this is our bylaws. It's not really a marketing document.
Like you put the mission statement in there, or a piece of the mission statement?
In our purpose,
Yeah,
Might be a good
I think,
idea,
I like that idea, to add our mission and our vision.
because that has sparkle in it.
right,
It
that
does,
has,
Yeah,
it does,
That's a good idea.
okay. Add it as
Section.
as a lowercase letter or a section?
Well,
A
let's see,
section,
so what do we call it? Missions? It could be purposes.
yeah, I think it goes under purposes.
Or mission statement, purposes and administration, add it all under
Missions,
article 2. It
okay.
could be
You could add
something-
it as another article and add it as an article and mention for more detailed look at
right,
initial priorities or priorities established from a
right.
visioning
Okay.
exercise. Go to article.
I like that very much. Does anybody have any issue with any of the purposes that are listed in A, B, C, D, other than including but not limited to?
I've been trying to think, there's feels like something's missing, but it's hard to grasp it. The word recreation is not in there, and that's,
Okay,
I mean,
it's not just,
all of us recreate downtown to a degree or other, and
I think overall community betterment is a good catch-all for a bylaw document, but
yeah,
okay.
it is. And it's in there, so,
and it's in there, yeah.
there is.
I mean, I guess in B, we could add in something about, natural beauty.
You could also just strike financial from health. And thereby making it financial health.
Which one is
Which
that?
In A,
And then, okay,
if you strike financial from that and just make it contributes to the health, then it's the financial health, the
Oh, I see.
environmental health, it becomes a more,
to the
a
health,
more broad.
right,
I think you're talking about the second.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were,
Yeah. So
I
you're
mean,
saying while contributing to its health.
Yeah, like if we,
Then
take
add
it-
the
yeah,
also
if we take
environmental.
out the
Financial,
specific of
yeah.
financial, then it can allude to the health of the environment,
It's
the
true. It's not
finance,
just finance.
rather than adding words, taking words out to give it a broader stroke.
okay,
Okay,
I like that. Okay,
Let it-
so I'm gonna add in another section with the mission statement and vision. That's gonna really capture the spark and creativity and fun, I think, that we really want for the program. I'll make these edits and I will make all of these edits and I will send out a copy for everybody to review then, and we can do that via email. Does that sound good? Okay,
we do have.
Let it be noted that I didn't mention there should be an and after the semicolon in C.
Yes,
There you go.
thank you.
This meeting could go really long.
Yes. Now, I just want to tell you that I did not go back and proof and edit this after I.
I did run it
after I
through
made the edit.
Grammarly.
Yeah, Grammarly's wrong. after. So, okay, great. So, all right, on to section 2 then. Okay. Dissolution and distribution of assets. A 2/3 majority vote of the board and final approval from town council shall be required to dissolve the program. No part of the net assets or net earnings of the program shall inure to the benefit of or be paid or distributed to a board member, officer, or donor of the program, except that the program shall be authorized and empowered to pay reasonable compensation for services rendered and to make payments and distributions in furtherance of the purposes of this program. You can tell I didn't write that paragraph. That was a straight pull from somebody else's program.
Lawyer.
Right? Anybody have any issue with that?
No.
I have a question. It says
Okay.
a 2/3 majority vote of the board and final approval from town council is required to dissolve the program. So town council can't unilaterally dissolve it.
I wondered the same thing. I assume if town council wants to dissolve it, they can.
That's what I would tend to think.
Okay.
I mean, I don't really mind having it this way, but I think it's probably not quite correct.
Okay, so we should probably add that in.
A 2/3 majority, let's see,
2/3 majority vote of the board and final approval from town council or
Or
town council
action.
action.
something, whatever you think.
So now that they've signed the memorandum of understanding, they're not bound in any way to the Main Street organization?
Well, I think you would consider that bound, but not irrevocably bound. If they can.
Yeah.
They could, they can pull the plug if they want to, because it's a town council kind of created it, so seems to me town council therefore has the power
To
to.
get out of it. if it-
to
Yeah, if it
Yeah,
makes
sure.
sense. And this is a learning curve for me, figuring out, what the board does and what the board can make motions and approve and then what needs to go to town council and so forth. So I appreciate anybody's guidance and making sure I handle that correctly.
Did town council create us?
Yes, they appointed us. We basically selected and proposed this board, but they had to approve and appoint.
So they can fire us.
And Cindy may recall when it was technically created, which was before most of us,
The board or the
the
program?
program.
Yes, the program. The program was,
We were a, not a candidate, but a prospective member before I even started with the town, which was 5.5 years ago. So we've been a
Right,
prospective member. I can't remember the classification, but we've been wanting to do this for a long time. So,
But town council created it in the beginning, right?
I don't know that they created it. I don't think they actually took action until just recently when we moved forward with the hiring of Kat and the, dedication of funding and sending in the application, that type of thing. I don't think there was a program on the books.
right.
There wasn't any official program.
Wow, we were an immaculate birth.
That's me.
Okay.
So just to make it a little easier to understand.
Yes.
You might say, the program can be dissolved either by
Got it.
town council action or by a 2/3 vote of the board,
Yep,
followed by.
Yeah.
approval.
I like that. Yep.
You
yep, that's awesome. Okay, thank you. Excellent. Okay. All right, next item. Somebody else want to take a read?
probably don't need to read that one.
Yeah.
That's pretty-
Program, that was pretty
flat.
straightforward. Okay,
But
very
for the
good.
geographic area is worthy of discussion.
Okay. Apologies for the rudimentary map. I would love for a board member to maybe volunteer to make a fancy one. Jeff Haverk.
Well, I drew this up in our first meeting after we were talking about it, and then I was thinking we'd come back to it, and because we had discussion, remember, and how far out do we go? We talked about going beyond Motel Soco because we wanted to include that.
Let me just say this, I did get the advice from DOLA that it's better to
Small.
go smaller rather than larger, because you don't want to take away from someone who was previously included if you need to shrink it later. You can always add, and it's up to us to be able to add as necessary, but I do like the idea of going up to Sage and Soco, because they're pretty significant part of downtown, in my opinion.
Well, plus that gets Pagosa views, if Pagosa views happens.
Interesting with residences, yeah.
It is.
Yeah,
It does
Have
also,
said that.
yeah,
Yeah.
which also, coincides with the towns, adding walking past the elementary school with, as far as all forms of communicate their travel,
Right.
the bike path being extended
Yes.
up there is a pretty good logical.
Absolutely,
endpoint.
right?
Well, we should be cognizant of that presentation James gave us about all
Right.
the stuff that
Yeah.
is planned. So I was wondering if, do we need to bend down 84 to the Tractor Supply and bend up 84 to the, I don't know the name of that dome, that dome thing that Annie and Tony are doing up there. I don't know the name. of it.
Yeah, I don't know the name of it
We
either,
call
but
it the lodging domes. I don't think it has an official name yet.
Jane, I mean, and
Is that-
correct me
is that-
if I'm wrong,
It is, yes, barely.
but I feel like James alluded to the walkability of that part being very long-term.
That's true.
Like that's not in the
That is
immediate
very true.
future, whereas the new roundabout seems like a pretty logical endpoint to immediate, additions and.
So east end to Motel Soco, roughly.
Weston.
Yeah, that's the only,
I mean,
that's the only thing I worry about is like.
yeah, with.
Are we diluting?
Yeah,
ourselves?
that,
And saying we want to be mainstream for everybody as opposed to, I mean, honestly, really, we're talking about the heart of it being the two,
This and East End.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we could almost First to Eighth Street, which is kind of almost what you have here, isn't it?
right. It is what I, yeah.
First to Eighth.
Right.
From the library.
Maybe we should stick with that.
And Kat, can I ask a practical question? So
Absolutely.
are there, and maybe you don't know the answer to this question, but it's just something to pose to the group. When it comes to building sort of consensus, I think bigger gets tougher, obviously, and sort of smaller geographically, not to exclude people, but I like what you said, that it's easier to add people as you go along. And I think if we can establish that core and demonstrate some success and get some great, signage and maybe some great banners and some, I don't know, some great street
Right.
furniture going and some street presence, people will want to join in and consensus will be easier to build. That's my 25 cents.
Right.
Could
Very
we
good
also,
point.
That's
could
a
we call
very
it phase one
Mhm.
and have phase one be,
marketing cart.
pretty
Right, right,
tightly drawn?
right.
And then, and then talk
Right.
about adding.
The other thing I'd like to note is that we have received some feedback that there's a little bit of misunderstanding about Main Street and what Main Street does and doesn't do and so forth. Part of that is that other parts of the community feel left out because they, for whatever reasons, they feel like, well, the heart of Pagosa isn't necessarily downtown. So I think it's always going to be really important for us to focus on how everything that we're doing in Main Street is really all about helping and promoting, and
Yeah,
including the
radiating
whole community, radiating out. So even if we don't add those other businesses and extend, it's going to be important that we include them in some way so that they can see the benefit of everything that we're doing, even though the program is really targeting downtown. So anytime we have an event, if we want to, we may not only want to promote businesses in town, we want to promote,
Sure.
other businesses. So that's just a thought too, about keeping it smaller, but we won't be excluding those businesses because we really want to help them understand benefit of everything we're doing.
So to that point, and to Cindy's point, maybe we should narrow it and, I mean, I hate cutting out the east side, but it's not, that's all planning oriented and not much is gonna happen there, but that the rebuild of First to Eighth Street is imminent. I don't know.
And
Well-
I'm gonna throw it too. I like the idea of kind of opening the door to the future of it by saying phase one or phase two. But I think if we call it anything like that, or if we allude to a phase, then we will be inundated with questions about, well, who am I gonna be in phase two? And those are, unless we have answers to those questions, I think we should stay away from that. I like the possibility, but I think, maybe we do like an east and west or something like that. I don't know.
I do want to go back to the majority of the public feedback that we received when we did all of the data collecting is that they want cohesion between this segment and East End. They want connection, cohesion, and to really help it feel like the continuous part of Main Street. So that, I think,
Where?
from this part of town to
Historic
the
to
east end,
East End.
to the east end
Yeah.
part of town across the bridge.
Yeah, I think a lot of it really needs to just take into consideration what the town is doing and where we can provide the most support. I just don't really, I do agree with the idea of the importance of like the Motel Soco and Sage area, but I just don't see a lot of progress that is gonna be made past McCabe Creek up to, it feels a little bit stagnant right there with what the town is doing and what we can, that's,
We can contribute.
yeah, there's just, I don't feel like there's a ton there that we can provide, under the umbrella of this organization to really do much with that section between McCabe and, the new development.
Therefore dilutes.
Yeah, and so it's like with that idea of not diluting ourselves by removing something where we don't really have any viable options to improve the environment immediately, that might be, a good cutting point because, the new little park is gonna be going in right there. The road is open back up, and it's like, and it seems like we know what's gonna be happening on the east end. It kind of gives us two pretty practical points to end on.
And I think maybe we do think about like Pagosa views maybe our trigger to expand that.
Yes,
You know?
yes, at that point in time, yeah.
You know,
'Cause that's a 10-year development process.
right, we're several years away from seeing.
So all of which to say is Cat drew it right.
Is that, doesn't it go up to 8th Street right now?
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
8th Street.
So, but what I'm saying is between McCabe Creek and 8th Street, to me, is a dormant as far as things that are already planned.
What, Cindy, do you remember the extent of the total Main Street CDOT redevelopment? Is it First to Eighth or First to Sixth? You're muted.
I think it goes to 8, but let me just check my notes. Actually, I'm
That's-
gonna check Kat's minutes because they're excellent.
I think that's correct. I think it goes to 8.
That was-
I think we should include everything that's gonna be completely reconstructed.
Well, what about
Through
walkability
8th
from McCabe Creek?
Through 8th
Is that going to, I don't remember
Yeah,
James
there's-
saying
there's-
anything about that.
there's-
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
One of the things I want to make sure that we have the opportunity to do with some of these grants and things is that one of the things we heard, well, from a couple of our businesses during reconstruction projects, and particularly with the Main Street reconstruction, is signage and having that brand on a sign, whatever
Yeah.
that signage is, and having maybe mini grants for everybody to get signs that are branded and they're appropriate and so on and so forth for anybody who's in that reconstruction. So I think it's important to include those people so they can be included in that as well.
Okay,
I agree
great.
with that. All right, so any question about the whole of Hot Springs all the way down to town hall?
Is that necessary, like as far
Yeah,
as
is that
business
necessary?
perspective?
From a
like,
business perspective, I just wanted. to
Or
include-
residential?
Just wanted to include the Springs from a business perspective. And I thought, well, if we're including that road, maybe we just go all the way down. But that's certainly up for discussion if we want to stop at the Hot Springs
There's also a lot of stuff that's gonna be built.
on that corner and in that
Yeah,
corridor.
in that empty
And
stretch,
well,
right?
yes, and the
I mean,
Springs is doubling their footprint in that area.
Yeah, I mean, I think the spring.
You remember that one.
Cindy, do you have an opinion on that? You're our planner.
Well, I would say there's a couple of things going on. There's some widening and widening of Hot Springs Boulevard that's planned for the next, I don't know exactly what the time frame is on that. But the expansion of the Springs goes to where you see Spring Street on the right-hand side or on the east side of Hot Springs Boulevard. It also carries through to the left side, so that will be their secondary, sort of their secondary, actually will be their main entrance, will be on the west side of Hot Springs Boulevard where Spring Street comes in. And then there will be probably some residential that comes in down below that. There will also be, if the development comes to fruition, there will be some commercial and residential mixed uses just north of that. So again, we might want to, if we want to include the Springs in that, to maybe go as far as Spring Street. Again, I don't want to exclude anyone because I think there's so much residential and government. That's the balance of Hot Springs Boulevard. I don't know that Main Street, the scope of Main Street's really applicable to those
Yeah,
developments.
So I think you're suggesting to stop at Spring Street on.
Where is Spring Street?
Spring Street is. what-
Spring Street's only on the
Past
east
the
side.
post office.
Yeah, so you,
Not on that map.
so
Oh,
you'd be stopping at
Oh, there it
like
is.
Bank of
Yeah.
the San Juans.
Bank of, the- okay,
Yeah,
okay,
so you-
got it, okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to add in, is it possible to somehow include some of the Riverwalk area? Because that area, it just seems like is such a draw for such a big part of Main Street. And then we have some of the local nonprofits. We have the Geothermal Greenhouse Partnership, and that's a big part of the identity of downtown as well.
Yeah, and
I guess I just assumed they were included.
what if instead of like the magic marker on the roads?
It's a
we did
square,
Block.
a block,
Yeah,
a block,
or a
okay.
blob or
Right.
something.
Yeah.
I feel like, because I think that's a really,
Do you have
I agree.
access to, I don't know if town has it, but.
AutoCAD or something?
Well, I was a GIS major. in
Yes, that's right.
college, but I don't have the programs for it anymore, but if we have the files from the county for all of this, then yes, we can create. a
We can
map.
do that.
You
I
can do
was-
You
that?
can give me
I
that
was
access?
afraid you were gonna bring that up, Roseanne. I did not know that was your background, so. But we
What? I
can
thought
do-
you knew everything about me.
No, just pizza and everything after that, so. And roller derby, I forgot about that. So yeah, we have the capability, we have the program to do an ArcGIS story map, which I think is really
Excellent.
appropriate.
Okay,
I didn't want to
awesome.
volunteer for that, but
Well, the reason like saying these things, what it's making me think is that what we need is basically something that if we have the shape files is what they're called for the roads, for the bike paths, you overlay them,
Yes.
and then you do a buffer around all of them and
Right.
it gives you, I mean, it's not a perfect circle, but it's a more comprehensive of all forms of, transportation that we want to make
Right.
sure that we're including.
and the reality is looking at this is actually the river expansion.
It is, it
You
is.
know,
Yeah.
and so it also, if we head toward that go with the flow. thing, if
Exactly.
Our map is,
Exactly.
basically the extended river,
Perfect. I love that. I love that. So sorry, Cindy, but Cindy and maybe Rosanna, would you two be willing to work on that together?
Yeah, Cindy, if you can give me, access to, like I said, I just don't, I have no reason for ArcGIS in my world anymore than I can do the simplistic mapping.
yeah, so what we use now, and it's so different because I did it in college, which was like, I don't know, 20 years ago or something, when I was in college for like the fourth time. And we used shape files, but now you can do what they call a story map, which is it's a different way to convey the information. But what's nice about it is it helps tell a story with the map. It's used really widely for, and might be familiar with this, but it's used widely, I think, for things like housing projects. We use it for our public arts projects. We use it also for, people use it a lot for tourism related or tourism oriented things. So this might be a natural thing for that. I don't know about the shape files. I'll have to play around with it, but when do you all want a map by?
Do we need it to put in the?
Yes, we needed to put in
Bylaws.
the bylaws
So
and,
need it by our next meeting.
yes, by our next meeting.
I just wanted to make a request for that map. Can we have some other assets on there, like the community garden and the growing domes, and just think about all those cool assets that people would want to access down there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Great point, Rose,
we can
about,
What I can do is put together a draft map and I can send it out to the group and you all can tick around on it, and it's super user friendly and super navigable. You can click on things. But you can zoom into a like if you're going to zoom into a coffee shop facade and say, hey, look at this is the most recent facade upgrade from the Main Street program in 2023. And this is what we improved, excuse me, improved. It can show you some detail information. They can zoom back out. So you can zoom in, zoom out. That's why the story maps are really nice, because you're not just looking at a map, a flat map, you're looking at
right,
it in 3 dimensions.
right.
So what I'll do is I'll try to get that in the next, couple weeks. Monday's a holiday for us, so I'll try to get it to y'all in the next couple weeks. And then if you see anything that you want highlighted or brought into focus, we can certainly do that too.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cindy. That would be wonderful.
I want to thank you too, Cindy. I know how busy you are. That is very generous of you. I appreciate that.
Yes.
That's great, Cindy.
Thank my
The one-
boss, Jeff. Thank my boss.
The one thing I wonder is if, like, especially the East End is gonna, has already some pretty like major plans. Is there a way to include proposed, could that be a layer?
I'm trying to think of how we might. We can include, I think we can. I don't know if I would want to include it yet. I think we can add to this pretty easily. But maybe just getting the basic map of here's the
Yeah.
bounds of where we're at. But Kat, will you eat when we I'm gonna have to go in about 5 or 10 minutes. I gotta go pick up my 4-legged child.
Okay.
If we can get those boundaries, I'll make sure that I make a map that has those boundaries, and then we can add to it perhaps as we go along and include, hey, these are what our plans, and you can include links in there. So if people want to know more about what those links look like, we can include photographs, we can include befores and afters, any of that kind of thing. It's a pretty robust. It's not as GIS and data laden, but it's more of a user friendly. I think it would be more appropriate for this than a traditional, like I said, a traditional flat map.
Right, okay, great, fantastic. Okay,
It's good.
map discussion,
Good on that.
good on that,
I'm good
okay.
on that.
All right, who wants to read?
I'll read a little bit.
All right,
Article 5, powers of the board, Section 1, general powers. The board shall have the power to create a robust program that is approved by town council and to oversee generally the implementation of the program. Without prejudice to such general powers and subjects of these bylaws, the board shall have the following powers. A, to undertake either alone or cooperation with others, any lawful activity which may be necessary or desirable in the furtherance of any or all purposes for which the program is organized, and specifically but without limitation to conduct, manage, and establish general policies concerning the affairs and business of the program. B, to select and remove the officers of this board, to prescribe such powers and duties to them as may not be inconsistent with these bylaws. Any thoughts? adjustments?
Policies. That was the only thing that really stuck out to me is general policies. Are we establishing policies?
we're not establishing policy for the town, policies, I read that to be policies for the operation of the board, yeah,
Okay.
how we work.
And we're about to get to a policy that I'll discuss.
Right,
Yeah.
all right, and anything okay, everything okay there?
Well, there is one thing I just want to point out. It says
Mm-hmm.
create a robust program that is approved by town council. So I think we need to be aware that we come up with stuff and we present it to town council for approval or change or approval. So they always have the power to accept as is, accept with stipulations or reject. So
that's gonna be our standard operating procedure. Is we come up with it, we present it to them.
Yes,
They
yes.
approve or they amend.
And Emily and I talked about that actually yesterday again, to follow up with Andrea to just make sure we're on the same page with this being the process, you know, and how much has to get approved by town council. I mean, they want an advisory board to do a lot of work, but I think also still have the ability to approve.
But what I would ask is to what degree do you have to? I mean, if we want to put a pop-up thing on Friday afternoon, we have to go get permission for that. I mean,
Yeah.
That's absurd.
Right.
So it should be,
Well, it almost seems like it would be like the bigger program of, you know, what would that
Yeah.
pop-up be a part of?
and I
That's
don't know how you
us,
say that.
us like asking town council for approval for events to promote, you know, like in general, do we have approval for events to promote the Main Street?
That's a good.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like a larger heading of
Right.
asking for approval for the scope of the anticipated things we're gonna do.
Right.
So I mean, the other thing is you could put a money thing. You know,
Yeah.
anything about $1,000.
Right.
The city has to approve, the town council has to.
Good. What we're building up to though is we're going to put something together, take it to town council and get hopefully probably approved and then start doing stuff. So we just need to think about whenever we present something that it contains things like those little pop-up things that we might want to do. We might want to make sure that we,
Right,
you know,
right.
Yeah,
present it and propose it in such a way that gives us freedom for little stuff.
Okay. All right,
Yeah, that seems fine. Section 2, number tenure qualifications. Board shall consist of a minimum of 9 members and maximum of 11 members and 1 or 2 ex officio members. Board members terms begin on July 1st and June 30th. The term of office for each board member shall be 2 or 3 years or until the board election and town council appointment of his or her successor. Yeah,
Mhm.
that is. Term of office for initial board members appointed by the town council in July 22 shall be determined by a drawing of straws prior to March 9, 2022. Such terms shall be for 2 or 3 years commencing on July 1st.
so the thinking behind that was, so during the appointment, the town council approved your initial appointments for 2 years. But we don't want the whole board to turn over in 2 years, so we want to stagger them.
so how does that
So-
happen with Jeff and I though, as me being the CDC representative and him being the town council
I'm
representative?
sure I'll roll off at April 2024, which will be off cycle, but then it'll be up to town council to put a new member on this board.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Does that need the appointed members? Does that need to be
Mm,
clarified
yeah,
in
you're
there?
right. You're right.
Cause I assumed that my appointment would end at the end of my CDC board term.
When, do you know when your CDC?
It's 2 years, 2 years from May. so
Okay.
Like 18 months.
Well, so on town council, every January, we reappoint town council members to the various boards. So I would be, I assume, reappointed next January of 2024, and then it'll, you know, naturally expire when I go out of office, and I'll have to pop somebody else in there. Might be the same thing with CDC. Maybe every January we reappoint to the various boards within the CDC, which Main Street's the only one.
When do you roll off the board? When do you roll off council?
April 2024.
Oh, thank goodness.
I know,
Not this
when
year. I
when
was
you
like,
were talking, I thought we meant this year too. I was like, we can't lose Jeff now.
Okay, very good.
I
All right.
I do wonder if this should be like the policy for ex officio members is one thing.
Right,
Because you guys are ex officio, right? And for others, it should,
something else.
it should be simple.
Right.
Yeah.
Trying
Then you
to-
can draw your
yeah,
stripes.
Trying to pull that all into one seems.
Would anyone like to take on the challenge of rewriting this section appropriately to accommodate the different appointed individuals versus
I shall give that a shot.
oh, thank you.
That was-
I was
I
also-
love a working board.
Also did lease negotiations for 10 years, so I can't write contracts.
The other thing is the drawing of straws. I guess we missed the first drawing of straws in 2022.
We did. We-
March of 2022 straws drawn before there wasn't.
Well, let us tell you what you got.
The short one.
Yes, that should have been 23. Sorry. Yeah. As I said, I didn't go back and proof I still can't wrap my brain around 2023, but, okay, so Rosanna will work on that. Thank you. All right, insert MOU.
The MOU kind of, well, the MOU is a separate document.
You know what happens? I think there's okay, I did insert the MOU and it basically outlines that, I'll add that back in. Because I added it in and I don't know why it didn't show up there. It just says that we have to have someone from town council, we have to have someone from CDC, and we have to have business owners, residences, and so forth. So I'll add that back in.
D says 2 of the board members shall serve as officers of the board chair and vice chair, but we also have.
Yeah, that's my question.
Yes.
Did I go off the map?
Nope, I will add that back
Yeah,
in
I
as
think
well.
it should be added back in, and plus I think I should take on the secretarial role. I think that Kat has enough on her plate. If I do the minutes, send them to Kat, she approves them or makes any crazy corrections. That is my role, that is, we follow by Robert's Rules of Order, and it is kind of a duty of a secretary to actually. So does anybody have I know Kat writes wonderful minutes, and we will, but she will also approve my minutes. Does anybody have an objection to me doing my job?
Are you okay with that?
Yeah, okay, thank you. I kind of wondered about that. I was like, okay.
That's great. I don't think that needs to be in.
A motion or anything?
Well, we do need to add secretary.
I'll add secretary, yeah, I'll do that and I'll add the other back in. Okay.
Did we call you
So you want me to work with
Yeah,
A and B?
secretary treasurer, isn't that what?
Yes.
I just want to make sure I know how much you're wanting me to try and revise.
Section 2,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Okay.
Who's the other? No, it's just a dual role. The secretary can also be the treasurer, I believe.
I knew
And
that there was something
Me,
here.
Mr. Chair, and Jeremy.
Vice, and then secretary treasurer,
So,
it can be a combined appointment. On my other boards it is, but is that?
I'm
So
pretty
do you-
sure.
do we
I thought
want,
that's what
yeah,
we-
Yeah, I
Yes,
guess that's so.
I
That's
thought
what
that-
I,
so secretary treasurer.
yes, secretary slash.
yeah,
I'll write.
when I
that.
nominated for it, where I walked in the door, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
See what here.
I wasn't here, they nominated me. I walked in late.
Each board member may succeed himself or herself as many times as they are reelected and reappointed by the town council and board members listed residents of Colorado. The one thing I would say that may be worth going through here is that himself, herself is not legal language anymore, that is not fully inclusive legal language,
Okay,
that we gotta figure out how to.
We probably just need to at the beginning of it, hereafter members,
Yeah, something like that. Or themselves, wherever it says himself, herself.
maybe just take the gender out of it. And
Yeah,
just say
be
member,
right.
here and after
Because,
referred
I
to
know,
as.
believe me,
yes,
the them,
Yes.
the they, them thing
Yep.
covers everybody, no matter how they. identify.
Got it.
So,
Specifically awesome.
change throughout. I will change it throughout.
See, I'm an elk, so.
You can spawn me to death at will.
Each officer shall hold office for the term for which he, she is elected until his
There we
or
go.
successor shall have been elected and seated or removed. Do we need that? Did we make it clear?
That you perform for your
That you're
period of
on,
time.
yeah.
Do we need to restate that?
No,
We just.
Strike it.
Yeah.
Looks to me like it's strike.
very good. All right.
Well, one thing to think about is succession planning. It sure is nice if you can like recruit somebody to be the next board member and have them come for a couple of board meetings before they take office, but I don't know if we need to commemorate that in our bylaws. But we might, it's worth thinking about when it gets time for people to start rolling.
They might be too shocked by layers of fun. Official meetings.
I'm gonna get them slowly spun up to fun.
But they are open meetings, so, anybody can always come and sit in, they just wouldn't be active participants.
Sure.
Sure.
Right, okay. Okay, regular meetings. A regular monthly meeting of the board may be held with a minimum 24-hour notice to the public by posting on the Town of Pagosa Springs website. All meetings will adhere to the Colorado Open Meetings Law and be held at the Pagosa Springs Visitor Center meeting room or another location and at a time designated by the board. The board may provide by resolution the time and place for holding additional regular meetings. Additional regular meetings will adhere to Colorado Open Meetings Law and shall be held at the same location in the absence of any other designation in the resolution. The board may also meet in closed executive session, that is, with only voting members in attendance to discuss issues involving litigation, personnel, property, or other sensitive subjects. The board chairperson may, in his or their discretion, allow a non-voting board member or other individual to attend such a session.
The executive session. Is that what they're doing?
Such a session,
Such
that
a-
would be executive
Yes,
session.
but I'll clarify.
So let's talk a minute. Do we need executive session? I mean, I guess it's okay to leave it in there in case.
In case we need it.
But litigation, I mean, any litigation is gonna be handled at the town level or the CDC level.
Mhm,
Any personnel, that's gonna be handled at the CDC level or the town level.
mhm.
Any property, are we likely to ever own property as an entity?
Not with those sort of dollars.
No, I mean, this was pulled from Main Street program that's a nonprofit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
Property.
It's probably one of those things that's better to have it in there.
then.
Yeah.
All right. It's just
Yeah.
questioning.
Yeah.
I can't really
Well, and
imagine
especially how
it.
you're talking about, a lot of them do roll over into
Right.
nonprofits,
Right.
it's like that does change the dynamics down the road.
Right.
Did you say some Main Street programs become nonprofit entities,
Mhm.
separate? Oh, really?
Yeah, there are a lot of variations, so.
And independent of like their founding towns and everything?
I don't know that they have to be independent if they're.
If they're 401(c)(3),
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Pat, can we talk about attendance? I don't see any reference to attendance of meetings.
absolutely.
I belong to several boards, as we all know, and we all do. And there's one board in particular I belong to, that two of the members regularly don't show up in a regular manner. And then they say, oh, I'm just too busy. Well, there's 5 or 6 other applicants that wanted to be on that board, and if they don't want to be there, they can, or whatever their situation is. Can they just, attendance has not been addressed in here, and I know it becomes an issue at one of my other boards.
Attendance was in the original one that I cut down,
Mhm.
so open for
Open
discussion.
discussion.
The only complication that I see about, us dictating that is that whoever, we still have to go through town council for new members. So I do agree that there should be a qualification of attendance and participation. But this one is a little bit different because of the structure of the board members being approved by town council.
So on planning commission, there is a requirement to attend. If you miss more than 2 without the permission of the planning commission chairman, then you're subject to being removed, but I don't remember the language, but it is in there.
All right, you're.
Yeah.
Share with us.
Just like the way you read, it's like elementary school. But anyway. No, I have. Yeah, yes, sir.
Because we offer Zoom, we offer in person. I mean, we do offer a lot of ways for people to tie in, so.
So we have in here the ability, right, to kick somebody off. We can vote. Can we vote somebody off? Can we unilaterally? No, just our officers. Just we could vote out the officers.
No, but that was in the original, the attendance policy, and then the board being able to vote people off based on attendance. Anybody out online have any comments about attendance policy of any kind?
I'll just pipe in that I know the GGP has three missed ones, and if there's no communication, then then that's cause for being voted off. For the ASI board, we're just working through our bylaws now. So I'm not sure what the best practice is. You know, I'm sure there is some type of best practice.
Early on, talked about that three meetings standard. And we all sort of, that all made sense to us. It was one of the very first meetings we had where Emily mentioned, okay, we're gonna make it so, you know, this happens sometimes, but we just want to be able to quickly address a problem where somebody just stops showing up. Why don't we just stick with that?
Well, I like that. I think we need.
Yeah.
Okay, so what
I do
happens,
too.
so what happens
You think
if
that's
somebody
pretty good?
misses the
Pretty
3
good.
meetings,
Yeah.
they've been kicked off and now we're below the 9 members that are required?
I'm gonna point somebody.
Real quick.
But the real quick is what I'm
Right.
saying, like
What
now,
county?
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
now it's town council, like how do we make sure that we are adhering to all of our bylaws without contradicting them?
We have control over what that minimum is,
Okay,
so we could
so
change it.
maybe there just needs to be some additional wording added there, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, to give it, you know, to give us some time to
Mhm.
fill that.
I mean, did they get a warning letter like PLPOA? You know, you're trash.
Well, hopefully not like PLPOA.
No, but I'm saying that type of thing where you get a warning letter, hey, we haven't heard from you, seen you.
What's customary? If you move, if you miss a meeting and you don't give a reason,
That's an unexcused absence.
okay, but if you give a reason like, I'm out of town, I'm sick,
I'm at a conference that I.
I'm at a conference.
That's generally an excuse.
generally excused, so we're talking
Excused absence, right.
unexcused, so,
So don't show up, don't contact anybody.
right, so if you just go dark.
You go dark, right?
For 3
You go
meetings.
dark for 3 meetings.
Right.
So-
Because we recognize we have businesses, we have jobs, we have lives.
Right.
It's unrealistic to think everybody's gonna attend every single meeting but it's just someone who just falls off.
Right, you said go dark. If
Yeah,
they go dark, nobody's heard from them. The officers haven't heard from them.
Right,
You haven't heard
right.
from them. Nobody in the room knows what's going on.
Okay,
So
I
clearly-
can take a stab at writing
So
that.
one thing that might help is if we reduce the minimum.
Yes.
Minimum of 9.
9
I mean, we
To
could,
7,
I mean, that's a pretty high minimum.
yep,
I mean, a minimum of
Let's say
7,
7, maybe, or even 5, has to be odd.
7,
Seven?
7, okay.
Seven.
So that makes it easier if somebody goes dark.
Right.
We can continue.
Anybody have,
Is the 24-hour notice, does that comply with open meetings? That's what it is.
Yes.
24-hour notice of absence?
No,
For the public meetings.
Oh, gotcha. Yes, that's a public meeting, yeah.
Yeah.
Does anybody have, a pretty strong opposition to an attendance policy like that? Which is basically trying to give us permission to, replace a board member if somebody decides to go dark. That's essentially what it is. It's not to try to mandate that you have to be at every single meeting. Everybody feel comfortable with that? Okay, I'll take a stab at writing that.
In 3 meetings is the.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Three
You're
unexcused.
totally out of the flow. If you miss 3 meetings in a row, you have no idea what the flow. is.
Right,
right.
You're out. You're out. Yeah,
Been absent for a quarter.
right. You've been absent for a quarter, yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
Yes, okay, so I'll add that in. Where are we now?
Special.
Special meetings. Special meetings of the board may be called by or at the request of the chairperson or vice chairperson or by any 3 or more board members and should be held in the location noted in section 3 above, which means here or somewhere else that is deemed appropriate. All special meetings shall adhere to the open meetings law and be held within, with a minimum of 24-hour notice to the public by posting on the town of Pagosa Springs website.
Yeah, that should be chair or vice chair. I think that's how we've done it.
Chair instead of person?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just because we did it other places.
it's not consistent. Yeah. Do you have a preference of how you want it? Chair, vice chair versus chairperson, vice chairperson?
Shorter.
Shorter.
Yeah,
There's
limited.
Okay. A majority of the board members by these laws shall constitute a quorum for the transaction of business. Vacancy.
So that
yeah.
means a quorum is 6 at this point with 11 members.
Yes, we're still 10 right now, so it's 6. But, yeah. All right, section 6, vacancies. Any vacancy occurring on the board will be filled by the affirmative vote of the majority of the remaining board and approved by town council. A board member elected to fill the vacancy shall fulfill the unexpired term of their predecessor.
So that's a voluntary vacancy, somebody who says, I'm out, who quits, instead of just going. Okay.
All right. Rules. The board shall conduct business under Robert's Rules of Order and according to Colorado Open Meetings Law.
Has anybody really studied Robert's Rules of Order?
I
Oh,
Googled
gosh.
it to get enough basic
I
information.
have the book.
Yes,
I'm the
hello.
secretary a lot of times. I have the book.
Do you have a book that you can
Yes,
bring to
I
the
do have a book.
meetings? That would be
Is
amazing.
that necessary? I mean, even the town council doesn't technically follow the Robert's Rules of Order. We kind of generally.
If we're not
adhere-
required to, I don't think we should
I
be
don't
adding anything on
Yeah, right, right.
ourselves. Like, I mean, we're required for open meetings, so.
This
Yes.
meeting is not occurring within the confines of Robert's Rules of Order. I think we should strike.
Strike it. All right. So just
Yeah.
the board shall
It's-
conduct business according to the Colorado Open Meetings Law.
Yep.
Yep.
Right.
Suits
All right.
me better.
Got it. Okay. Thanks for hanging with us, everybody online. Any other comments?
I'll read the next one because you're getting tired.
Okay.
Article 7, officers, section 1, number. The officers of the corporation, Then are
Sorry.
we a corporation?
No, that was an omission of.
Shall be
of
a
the
chair and vice chair, each of whom must be a board member and shall be elected by a majority vote of the board. Not more than one office may be held by the same. Can we say person? The chair shall preside at all board meetings. The vice chair shall be the assistant to the chairperson and shall preside in the absence of the chair. Assistant to, what does that mean? I guess that's okay.
So it says not more than one office can be held by the same person, but secretary treasurer is often confined.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that should be the officers shall be a chair, vice chair, and secretary treasurer.
That's good.
Yes.
Because we're just defining secretary treasurer. as
Yep,
one.
got it.
One,
And I got it. And I also have a description of what secretary chair will do, which I added in there. It isn't showing up on this draft.
just needs to show up there. too.
Yeah.
Is it necessary to say not more than one office may be held by the same person? I mean, obviously, we don't want that, but it just seems like
No, it's
No.
crazy.
kind of nonsense.
All right, yeah, all right, let's strike it.
I want
Strike
to
it,
be
make it
vice
simple.
chair too.
Because I'm not here.
Our goal with these is to make it as short and succinct as possible.
Yeah, strike it.
Okay, strike. Okay,
Section 2, election and term of office. The officers of the board shall be elected annually at the first meeting in the new year. Does that mean we need to do it today?
No, because these haven't been
Mm-mm.
approved yet.
Each officer shall assume office upon election and shall hold office until their successor has been duly elected or until their resignation.
Yeah.
Vacancies, any vacancy of an officer may be filled by the majority vote of the board.
But that's not really true. Oh, officer, sorry. Yes.
Officer,
Yeah.
officer.
Yeah, they don't have to approve.
Article 8,
Right.
Street coordinator, Main Street coordinator shall take direction from the board and shall manage the daily operations of the program. Coordinators shall be responsible for coordinating the implementation of the program's policies and projects to include grant pass-through funding, solicitation and administration, and such other duties as the board may require. They shall attend all board meetings as a non-voting participant unless the board determines otherwise by formal resolution.
Is that just standard language?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
Wanted to mention maybe that you could serve in the role as like an ex officio.
Okay,
It just
What would be the
sometimes
benefit?
just sometimes directors serve in that role as like consulting with the board.
Are they voting members?
No.
That's
Not that
kind
I'm
of,
aware
So how would that
But we
change?
might want to research that more.
How would that change like Kat's role? I mean, isn't she?
I don't know that it would, it's just that she is like a resource to the board to consult on specific issues. I know it doesn't sound any different from what she already does, but it's just something that we have for for our board member. And I'm not super familiar, but I just wanted to throw it out there.
Yeah.
Would you be able to find the line item that you have in your bylaws for that you could share? About how that's written? Oh,
She's thinking about it.
Eric Little needs to get his butt in here.
all right, we'll come back to that.
We'll take that as a yes.
Okay,
Funding sources, I'll read that real quick because I have a question. Section 1, fundraising, the board shall participate in any public fundraising activities for the program. Board members may accept any donations and gifts on behalf of the program and deliver to coordinator as soon as feasibly possible. I think there should be a statement of public disclosure that should be disclosed that a donation has been accepted
Yeah,
Okay.
and
like,
delivered to the coordinator.
yeah, you need to make sure, yeah, limit liability right
Just some
there.
kind- Some kind of public I'll give you this when I'm done.
okay. I agree. Do you think adding it into the minutes is enough?
I do, yeah.
Because that's a public document.
That's,
That's a public,
yep,
that's
okay.
public disclosure.
And can that benefactor or whatever remain anonymous if they want to?
I think
I
that's,
believe they
that
should,
should be their choice.
Yep, their choice. Okay, all right, last page.
I'll do budget real quick. The board shall approve a guidance budget for the program for each fiscal year. The coordinator will provide the board with a current status of the budget and expenditures to date at least once a month. That's pretty standard, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, this is where it gets a little muddy because we've got, our board was appointed in July, so we're kind of now moving from the July to June cycle. We get funded, our funds get approved in December for the calendar year. So any input on
Why wouldn't we just make it calendar year?
I
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah.
always easy.
duration of the fiscal year, the program shall be the calendar year?
Yeah.
6 months,
Yeah.
just-
I've had-
I mean, we haven't had any money to
Well,
go with
I had a
yet,
business
so.
that we had fiscal and back and forth news.
I work for a company that had October as physical. It's like, good
What?
God, why'd they do this?
Right.
Every public radio station in the country seems to be on a different cycle.
Okay.
Oh, great.
Right.
If you're a university, it's.
Right, okay. Each January, the board will set a new budget for the fiscal year and the coordinator will provide a financial report for the previous year. Yeah, okay. So January, your report is, we've got $15,000 in funding.
And the board should approve it. I move to approve it. A second, all in favor, aye, okay, it's passed. Wait a minute, I didn't do that.
You can't second yourself. when you get the-
Yeah.
Put that in there.
Amendments, these bylaws may be altered, amended, or repealed and new bylaws may be adopted by a majority vote of the board at any regular or special meeting.
Sure.
No person shall be denied membership on the board or be denied admission to or participation in any event promoted or sponsored in whole or in part by the program because of their sex, race, religion, gender, sexual orientation, age, or ethnic heritage.
We should be able to legally discriminate against knotheads.
Conflict of interest, and this includes the additional recommendation that Jeff had. All board members shall disclose at all times and any and all conflicts of interest. If any board member has a material financial interest in, is employed by, or has a close family member in a position of power over an entity associated with any formal agreement being discussed or voted upon, that board member shall notice such conflict of interest to the board and recuse themselves from all discussions and votes.
So I think that definitely should start being added to the for the minutes
Sure,
because,
not on there?
Well, I brought mine and it wasn't in there yet.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, I think that should definitely start being added to our minutes, because I think it's probably more applicable in this board
Than
than
the other
most,
board.
you know, because
Disclose
we're like
conference,
business
okay,
owners
right.
and
Yep.
property owners, like, there are gonna be things that we're proposing that, you know,
Right.
we will be biased on.
So we'll add that after the roll call, then disclosing. conflicts.
Conflict of
Yep,
interest.
got it.
So the only thing I might say there is recuse themselves from all votes. I actually think in terms of discussions, it reminds me of what you were talking about the dirty storefront.
Right, the Dory.
It's like, if because you have a storefront
Mhm.
in town, you can't say there's a problem with dirty storefronts.
Right.
I mean, it's just at the very.
Yeah, like how
Yeah.
specific does it have
Yeah,
to, like,
it's like,
I think
I
it
think if you-
fiscally has to be impacting you.
That material
Yeah.
financial interest in
Right.
is a material, so just a dirty storefront, it's not a
That's
material.
a general,
financial
yeah, that's
interest.
just a general,
I just feel
perspective.
like the discussion part if someone has a conflict, that could be valuable for the rest of us.
yeah, no,
To
absolutely. Yeah,
hear.
no, I agree.
It's part of the discussion and you just recuse yourself from
The
the
vote.
vote.
Oh, that's what you're saying.
That's all.
I thought you were saying it the other way.
I mean, I think that's probably, yeah, I mean, literally, I think that seems like it's probably the most effective use of this board, is
Right.
because it's like your own
You're all
personal
out there,
interest
right,
is
yeah.
what is going
Yeah,
to
True.
motivate
Right.
change.
Right.
I think the fear is though, if you have a powerful, passionate board member who's arguing for something, then it's can be seen as undue influence.
Right.
Before the vote's taken, even if they leave.
Right.
When the vote is taken. So it's.
That's gonna be tricky on this
It's,
board.
this is important because otherwise you're just flying by the seat of your pants and it depends on that state, well, not the council, I mean, we don't have this, it's based on the appearance of conflict of interest. Well, what's the appearance? I mean, that's in the eye of the beholder. And it's so subjective that it really stops meaning anything. Except whoever's beholding.
So what if we said recuse themselves from all decision making?
I think that's a fair way to say it.
And that at least,
Decision making.
yeah.
And that they're not persuading.
So
Right.
there is another way to handle it, and that's ad hoc. That's to disclose your conflict of interest. And then we vote on it. We can say, okay, I think you can participate in this and without causing any problems. So we'll let you stay in by a majority vote. Or a majority vote says, I don't know, I'm uncomfortable with that. And you know, it's like we want to hire Jeremy to stack up 500 hay bales, his company or something. And I don't know. We might be uncomfortable with him being in here. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up.
No, but that's a good point.
That's one way to handle it, ad hoc. I don't know.
It's hard. I mean, it's
It's
hard.
hard.
Yeah, I mean, because you're dealing with a small town. It's like, you know, it's like
Right.
a lot of people are gonna be involved and, you know, have
And
an
it's-
interest in a lot of different things. You
Yeah.
know, there's only so many people to hire to do certain
Right.
things.
And if you exclude them from
Right.
decision-making and discussion, you're excluding a huge amount of knowledge from that discussion, and we're shooting ourselves in the foot. So it's really tough. It's a tough thing. I don't know. Anybody have any thoughts? I don't want to be the only one.
Do you have access to other bylaws of Main Street programs?
I can get other.
I mean, because this
access
seems
to
like just
other-
a really logical, like,
Right,
point that has to, this conversation seems like it's a pretty,
Somebody's had it.
Cause you know, I
yeah,
might think, hey, I present to this board, maybe I do have a conflict of interest. What do you think?
Yeah,
right, right,
yeah.
right.
I don't really know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
That's when it becomes ad hoc and
Right.
important to just discuss it and decide as a
Right.
group, instead of leaving any single member out. I mean, if you decide on your own, then all the ethical responsibility is on you and it's not shared by the board. And that's just unfair, especially in a volunteer setting.
Right. Plus,
Um,
go ahead.
I was also going to ask, what is, to define what is material financial interest? Because material to me may be $1,000 or over, or I don't know, a couple $1,000, you know, and nothing lower than 500. So
Yeah.
It's just
Right.
kind of like,
That's.
Cause
that's
it could be small
subjective.
things, 'cause the reason I'm asking is because there could be some small things and then we're gonna spend
Right.
an hour discussing a $200.
Right, that's what I feel like. I feel like that this project could take up our entire meeting on some matter.
Right.
Right. And you know,
The joy of Copenhagen.
yeah.
Plus, I think we need to go back to the point that in the MOU with the town, it specifies that they want business owners on this board, representing this board to represent the interests of the businesses and.
So what, like on the CDC board, I mean, other boards that would have people, you know, chamber boards, are there conflict of interest? I wonder how those are worded.
I don't think we have
We
one
don't-
on CDC.
I don't know that it's written.
We don't even have one on town council.
Tourism, there's not one on the town council?
It's up to each individual member. I think it's grossly unfair. And I tend to bring that up because it's unfair. Unfair on the volunteer.
Okay, well, I'll do some investigating. How
Yeah, I
about
think
that?
that's what
Yeah.
we do.
And may even need some legal
Right.
advice. Okay, all right.
That's it.
Okay, so I have a question. Did we ever decide if we have 1.5 hour meetings or 2 hour meetings as needed? Could we all?
I
plan
think
on-
we decided we set them at 2 and hopefully do it quicker.
Hopefully do it. Okay, so do we want to move on to the next item or
Good priorities.
push that to the next meeting because it's going to be a big discussion?
I think we should move both of those budget priorities and committees.
I agree.
onto our next meeting. Somebody want to move? Do you need to move that?
Yeah. Um,
Can't hurt.
can't hurt. Better
Okay.
safe than sorry.
Anyone to make a motion to that effect?
Yeah, continuation. I'll do that. Mr. Chair, I move to continue the discussion on project priorities and committees until our next regularly scheduled meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Uh,
All opposed? Motion passes. Those two move to the next meeting. And then we'll bring up bylaws as.
Yes,
old
but I'll
business.
review. I'm gonna make my edits. If you'll send me yours. I'm not expecting anything to turn over tomorrow, obviously, but, and, you know, sometime next week. And I will send out another version to everybody to look through. And, I just want to say, if you want to take a look at, this is our 1 year work plan. This was a culmination of all of our ideas that we did through strategic planning. Emily and I just went and tried to match skill sets and resources with some of these tasks that we thought would be a good fit. That is not set in stone. The thing that I can tell you from DOLA, I asked, what is the best advice you have for me as the Main Street coordinator for success for the first year or two in operation of the program? And the best advice, given that Gail has done this for a really long time, is that she said, focus on 2 or 3 projects, priorities that you can do well. And
Within like 1 year.
within your first year. She said a lot of programs will spread themselves too thin
Yeah,
with trying to do too many things and not be effective at any one thing. So keeping that in mind, we know we need to build a website and our brand and do all the social media stuff. That's a given. But beyond that, I think First Fridays is an amazing idea that we came up with. I think that would be a huge project. So then what else besides that, what we might we might want to prioritize for the year? And that was going to be the purpose of this discussion that we can have in our next meeting.
I would just like to say with that, for food for thought for the next meeting of, I think it's really important that we are able to execute something that symbolizes to this town what we can do successfully to get the town to get behind us rather than be looking at us in a microscope to criticize.
Guarantee a win.
Yeah.
Basically.
there is no
Yeah.
guarantee.
We need a
Yeah.
homecoming game.
Yeah.
And to that point, I mean, that almost argues for picking one thing and doing it well before we even think about the rest of it. That
Yeah,
almost
just
argues
putting
for
all
that.
of, all of our
Especially if
effort
it's
into.
something like that First Friday thing. which is
Exactly,
actually
that's
12 things.
huge. That's huge.
So one thing that's crucially important to that is we're gonna have to do a lot of presentations and meetings. You know how James came and showed us the whole thing? Well, James came and showed us the whole thing at the CDC meeting last night. So James is like this walking presentation of all the plan stuff, and I mean, he has to go around to everybody. We're gonna have to be James in that regard. We're gonna have to start presenting to the vets for vets. For the, I mean, every group that'll have us speaking, we're gonna have to go tell them what
What we're doing, why we're doing it.
Right.
and ask for their, you know, their blessing or
Right.
whatever.
Right, and I really appreciate your article, Derek, in the paper, emphasizing the fact that our primary goal in the next couple of years is to really support the businesses through this construction project.
Correct.
I mean, that's huge. That's all about economic vitality. That's all about promoting Main Street. So when we're prioritizing, I think that needs to be, first in mind.
I agree. For like the next 3 years, we could do the first Fridays before that kicks off. And that might step us up to having that be our second big
Right,
project.
right.
It does seem that we could get down to 2 or 3 things, some of them being, you know, website, social media presence. You know, that sales pitch, basically, you know, and some kind of event, kind of something.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Great,
yeah, that
great.
might be it.
The sales pitch would probably, she could, put me in mind. You know,
Or I think
Yeah.
any board member should be able to do that, but we need to come up with what we're that.
Yeah, whatever the pitch is.
All say the same thing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah,
That's not what Rick said.
yeah, right. That's what we all have to have. Consistent, congruent. We gotta say the same thing.
Any comments out from Zoom about, to that effect?
I just wanted to add, I know I had mentioned to you guys that I have a colleague named Jonathan Stalls who wrote the book Name Walk.
Yes.
And he's wanting to come down in the area probably in March. And so it
Okay.
sounds like we already have a lot going on with our branding effort. But I was wondering if we could have an additional event in March where we would, I would like for a few of us to get together with Jonathan to talk about just some of his work as a preliminary. And he's willing to do like a hosted walk and roll kind of through our main street and just do some readings from his text. And he's done a lot of work in the San Luis Valley and has worked with some of the different cultural aspects of the San Luis Valley. And so he was suggesting maybe doing a reading from that area that kind of lifts up just the pedestrian nature of some of those communities, but also celebrating some of the culture. And so I talked with him a little earlier today, and we just had a really great conversation. But I just wanted to see if maybe a smaller group of the board might want to meet with him before, and I could introduce them to him, and you guys can get a little more familiar with his book and why it could be a source of inspiration for us.
Great.
Okay,
We'd
wonderful.
love to.
I mean,
Do we need,
Yes.
so I know,
Yeah.
I know, we have to post that meeting 24 hours in advance, according to open meetings law. Do we have to vote on setting that meeting or anything?
that'd be a special meeting.
Yeah, that would be-
What was
Yeah,
it?
we'll send our thing about.
Special meeting.
Yeah.
That would also be like a really good thing to do. Back room of a restaurant. or
Right,
bar or
right.
something.
So,
One that's on the Riverwalk.
Rose, how does it sound if you get a tentative date and time in March when he'll be here? And then in our next meeting, we'll make the motion as appropriate to set that meeting?
Great.
Sounds
Yep.
great. And I'll just gather a few more materials to help the board be better introduced to him and what he's about, so that you guys feel a little more engaged in what is going to happen in that future special meeting.
Okay, wonderful, great, thank
Send
you.
us the title of his book. I'll buy that and read it. But
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
Great. Any other business? Next meeting, we're all clear on February 9th at 4,
Correct.
right here.
Okay.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
Beautiful, thank you.
This is gonna be a good meeting.
Thank you. This was, I know bylaws are boring, but this was really productive and important.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. See
Thank
soon.
you all. Thanks, Has. Stay,
Okay.
stay healthy.
Thank you.
Adios.
Okay,
Bye.
bye-bye.
So since we're post meeting, I have a little interesting gossip about Main Street.